welcome back. My name is Monique and welcome to Medora Budgets. I'd like to thank anybody who's liked or commented on any of my videos, and especially those that have chosen to subscribe to my channel. Truly started this as a way to hold myself accountable, but I understand, recognize, and appreciate the community as a whole. So if you are rocking with me on this journey, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you haven't made up your mind yet, sit with me for a spell. At the end of this video, if it's content you find valuable or enjoyable, please feel free to subscribe. It's myself and Sweets married with a whole bunch of kids trying to figure out our future family and finances so the decisions we're making now won't negatively impact them in the future. Today we are here to do a mid-month check-in as far as my budget is concerned, expense tracking is concerned, as well as my goals also. So let's go ahead and jump into it. What you're looking at here is Big Bertha monthly planner that I got from Walmart for about $8. It's just the monthly view calendar for all months from 2024 through 2026. And although I have moved back to digital planning for the most part, never going to get rid of this. Not never going to get rid of this, because this has helped. And this is the first step for me, always kind of going back to the basics before you get started doing anything to include digital planning, anything dealing with your budget. What does your monthly overview look like? And this is where I start. So for January, I did go in and mark off everything that we needed to as far as the calendar is concerned. And I did make adjustments as needed. So one of the adjustments you'll see here is for Audible. I have Audible, which costs about $15 a month as a subscription. I have reduced that and gone to, so although I paid more on the 6th, I paid $18 instead of $15. It's because I moved to a bi-weekly subscription. So they're going to charge me $18 every other month, which means that my monthly amount went from $15 to about $9. It also means I only get 1 credit a month, but again, trying to cut back on some of my bills. The next thing you'll notice is that I still have Fubo TV on here. You'll see it for January and you will see it for February as well. So I did want to look at canceling that out, but the football game, the Super Bowl, will be on Fox and not on Paramount. I thought it was going to be on CBS. So with that said, I got to keep it 1 more month. And then after that, we will pause it for 6 months. And that will be $100 more back into my budget at that point. The other thing you will notice, I did add Visible down here. So my daughter's phone is now at Visible. It's $30 a month. My son's phone is at Visible now. It's $30 a month, but he's paying that bill. So I've seen a reduction as far as that's concerned as well. Hey, hey, my son is paying his own bill. My son his own bill. So we are good on that. The only other thing is I talked through my changes that I'm going to be making, and you guys saw my messy budget if you saw that video of some of the things that I need to do differently now that my mortgage is increasing, and then I've got a shift that I'm doing as far as how I'm paying off my debt. I did say on my January 24th check I wanted to give Nelnet $82, but what I forgot about is the fact that I've been doing a split bill for them, paying $45 every paycheck cycle. So they already got $45 on the 10th. And so I wrote myself a note here to check Nelnet before I pay them on the 24th. I may only have to pay them I may only pay them $45 instead of paying them the $82. If that's the case, it gives me a little bit more breathing room in here so that I can do a couple of things there. So I will be checking on that as well. So I've already tracking January good, already started to set up February here and get things outlined. One of the things, so I did say cancel or pause Fubo. I got to remember to do that after I pay that come February 2nd. But also I got to invest the $31 for the month of January. So remember, I am still, while I'm doing all of this, I want to start putting some money aside, of course, when I'm ready to invest. And I'm going with the $1 a day, right? Can't afford anything else. I already had money shifting from my variable checking account to my variable buffer account, because if you do an auto save transfer, it keeps you from paying any monthly amounts for, or monthly maintenance fees or monthly fees on my bank account with Chase. So I was doing that anyway. I'm just going to take that money and I'm going to use it and put it towards the investments that I'm going to start to do in Ally. So that was the only other note. So Big Bertha is still in the mix. We still working with her going forward. When it comes to the planning overall, or my goals overall, let's talk about where we are. Corinne's birthday happened. Yay, my baby's 18. Y'all, I cannot even believe it. I just remember her when she was just like a little itty bitty thing. When it comes to what I allotted for work and school, FAFSA is done. I made my final payment for THESCON. I don't have to worry about performance appraisals. That's going to happen in February now. So I did cross that out, and I'll add that to my February goals to take care of those. As far as Xerxes is concerned, boarding has been scheduled. His grooming appointment, he went. He looking fly and cute, and his beard game is strong, y'all. As far as life balance is concerned, I bought the estrogen. So we've got that done. Spirituality reading, Micah, I read chapters 1 through 5 so far. So I have a few more chapters to finish that off. As far as health and fitness, I haven't done my classes yet. We did do a date night, me and Sweet. Mommy Trader, I did not watch a video this past week, so I do need to get back on the ball. I don't want to lose sight of that one. So I do need to do that. So I might have to do 2 this week to catch up. And I am just going to concentrate on sign language and practicing that 2 to 3 times a week. I'm not giving up on the French right now with Duolingo. It's just been hard to incorporate that one in here as well. So maybe I'll just learn when Bean learns at the same time. So Nana Brain can have a little bit of a break. As far as my tracking is concerned, let's go here. Not too bad. I think you guys can see that. So not too bad as far as the habits that I'm tracking: pray, plan, practice, 15-minute clean, and inbox. I haven't gotten to exercise yet, but I'm doing pretty good on my supplements and taking my turmeric. And I do need to update this because today is the 19th. So I got 2 or 3 days I need to update it for. And then as far as sleep is concerned, the amount of sleep that I'm getting, whether it's less than 6 hours or over 6 hours. And I'm doing a lot better with the over 6 hours. That might be because of the estrogen that I've been taking, and that might be helping out. All right, now let's go to my budget and let's talk about this one. So as far as my expense tracking is concerned, I am tracking expenses. Dang, I went the wrong way. There you go. I am tracking expenses. That's what you see here. Maybe I'll scoot in just a tad bit. There you go. I am tracking expenses. That's what you see here. Now, I'm tracking 3 things. I'm tracking my Chase Freedom credit card, because that's where I'm going to be making all of my purchases, regular purchases. I'm tracking my Ally credit card because that's where my subscriptions come out. And I am tracking my bills account overall to make sure my utilities and my debt gets paid. When I look at this, I do it on a weekly basis. It started on 12/27 because that's when my January starts, and I track from a Friday to a Thursday. After I track all of my expenses, not after I pay them all, but after I track all of my expenses, I put this big green check mark on here to let me know that I've come up with my final and my numbers. And that's what you see down here. It gives you, like, medical, I spent $47.88 on this form, or just on this sheet. Food, I spent $148.59. 100 was for groceries, 48 was for dining, etc. So I do that for every form, and I've been tracking for my Chase Freedom all of the money that I have spent. Now, I did notice that there was a discrepancy because my Chase Freedom is great, but I don't always use my Chase Freedom to pay for everything. Sometimes there might be money in my variable account if I didn't pull cash, or if I use cash and I spent that, I really need to track that as well. So I have made a change. Now, luckily, I didn't have that as an issue for the money that I spent 12/27 through 1/3. 1/3 through 1/9 is when I've started to get a little bit more serious about my no spend. And y'all, Tara from Journey to Wisdom and Wealth, that gave me extra credit assignments. I said I was going to do 10 no spend days, and she done put me up to 12, 14. She done put me up to 28 no spend days, but it's all good. And I probably should go over how many of those that I have. But anyway, I started to do that. I think this week, so a lot less purchases that I have here. The week of 1/3 through 1/9. This is all just variable spending, just everyday spending, okay? And then 1/10 through 1/16, even less, doing a lot better. And then now this week, 1/17 through 1/23, where we are at so far. So I'm tracking it, and I use the bottom part of the form to document out what all categories are represented here and the amount of money that was spent for those. So that's how I'm doing my Chase Freedom. And the change that I decided to make is here. If you notice this, and I'll come in a little bit more. Hey, you scrunched a little bit too much. But if you see here, I spent $60 out of the bonus kids sinking fund because baby girl had to go on a trip. But notice that was for cash. So and when I said cash, I meant a sinking fund. So it wasn't a part of Chase Freedom credit card. But again, remember, I want to track everything. So I need to track when I'm spending money for my sinking fund. Or here, where is it? I did a debit. So for Best Buy, I paid $35 towards the debt, but I paid that from my variable buffer account. So I wrote here that it came from my checking account because it did. It didn't come from my Chase Freedom credit card. So I'm trying to figure out a way to keep track of everything without having multiple forms because I don't use cash as often or swipe my variable account as often. And I do need to track it. I just got to figure out how. So that's what I'm starting to change as far as this is concerned. Ally credit card and my subscriptions. Only my subscriptions are used or paid on this card. I don't actually even carry it around anymore. But with that said, I only reconcile this once a month because I don't have a lot of stuff that's happening on there and not a lot of activity. When all of those hit, they hit whatever the total is. I pay for it out of my subscriptions sinking fund on the date that the bill is due. That's why this list will be short. And that's why you don't see a lot of movement or activity. So I've already started to track it for my next billing statement or billing cycle. And you notice at this point, I still only have like 2 things that are there. So it's not going to be a lot that's going to be listed there. And then for bills account, the same way, I don't wait until the bill is due. When I get paid, although all of my bills are set up on auto draft, when I get paid, I go ahead and pay them. And usually then there's no activity after that. And that proves out here. So once I pay all of my bills, pretty much what's left in there just stays in there and it doesn't have any other activity. So I can keep all of that on one form, which is what I'm doing for my bills account. Now, all of this is going to be helpful because remember, I am going to be tracking my monthly budget category breakdown. We've already talked about this form. I won't talk about it anymore in the sense of telling you how I came up with these numbers and how I calculated it. You have to look at that previous video, and if I remember, I'll link it down below or in the cards or whatever they say. But in essence, I expect to have an inflow of $7,385. I expect to spend $7,151 based on these amounts that I have listed in monthly, but for the monthly budget categories that I have documented over here on the left. So you might be thinking now, how are you going to go through all of those different forms you just showed me and come up with what your amounts are? That seems like it's going to be a lot of work. I thought so too, which is why I went into my dash planner, my digital planner, and I pulled a form that was there, a blank form, and I'm using that to document everything. So I went in, pulled this form, put in each of the budget categories. I have a total of 13, highlighted it in the color that's associated with that budget category. And then I went in and said, week 1, week 2, 3, 4, how many weeks are considered a part of that particular month? That's how many weeks I want displayed here so that I am reconciling the numbers every week instead of waiting to try and reconcile it at the end of the month. I've already said that for January, I've got 3 paychecks. That's going to be a total of 6 weeks covered for the month of January. And what I did is I have those 6 weeks documented here, 1 through 6, but I grouped them together based on the paycheck cycle, just so that that's another reminder. 3 paychecks, 6 weeks covered. And then I go in and those totals that I put down at the bottom of the form, I'm putting those totals here for each of the budgeting categories. So that helps me in a couple of different ways. Number one, it makes it a lot easier at the end of the month when I have to write down my monthly totals for each of the budget categories. It'll be a whole lot easier to do it this way than to try and look at every single form. Number two, it forces me to look at my expenses every week so that I can notice if there's any trends building that might be an issue. And then number three, it helps me to remember how my weeks are going to lay out for that particular month so that I can understand when I get ready to hit into February, like how many weeks I've got for that versus how many I have for January. Does that make a difference? Because in this case, I should expect to spend more in January because I have 3 paychecks, 6 weeks I'm covering, than I should in February, which will probably be more so 4 weeks, 2 paychecks for that. These numbers shouldn't be the same. My monthly budget should not be the same for January and February because the amount of weeks and the amount of paychecks that it covers is not the same. Okay. All right. And then what has been the most eye-opening for me though is having that running tab. So a lot of these categories they are what they are. Property care is going to be what it's going to be. It's just specific monthly bills I have to cover. Debt's going to be what it's going to be. Utilities going to be what it's going to be. But say for example, medical, I give myself $50 every paycheck. And so am I working towards that or kind of aligning with that? Yeah, pretty much. $47.88 the first paycheck, week 1. And then $54.81 the second paycheck on week 3. So I'm aligning pretty good on that. It also shows me, it showed me up here when I hit week 1 and I finalize all those numbers, I'm like, dang, I spent $200 on personal. That's gifts and office supplies and just stuff. I was like, no, I gotta curb that. So this helps me to see it a lot sooner. And then food, which is my nemesis. So I wasn't doing too bad week 1, right? I give myself $110 every week for groceries and $30 every week for dining. So I was doing pretty good that week 2. Lost my mind. Yes, I did. $338.35, but I'm getting myself back. So this week 3, $135.99. So again, quick snapshot on how I'm doing. I can see everything laid out from a weekly perspective to see if there's anything I need to tighten up. And then this will make it easier for me to add all of these numbers together when it comes time to reconcile my numbers at the end of the month. Move those up there. All right. So again, another great thing that I like about digital planning. All right. So that is it for my check-in. The last thing I will tell you guys about is, I'm keeping track using that debt payment planner app to track kind of my expenses. And what I was most upset about, right, was the fact that it's going to take me in essence 5 years to pay off all of my debt. I really want to do it more so in 3, which is why I'm trying to put as much as I can towards it, changing up the strategy and going with the snowball method for me. But what I notice is that with the app, once you make changes, like the more you pay money, the more this is going to shift if you start to pay more money than expected. But I want to be able to track it, right? I don't want to just tell people, oh, I think it said 4 years and 10 months. I want to be able to show how I was able to move the needle in the positive direction as far as that payoff timeline was concerned. So another blank form that I found, decided to go ahead and incorporate this into my digital planner, my regular digital planner, and I'm going to track it. So I've got 4 categories: the priority at that time when I'm making payments. And as I told you guys before, Best Buy is a priority for me right now. What the payoff date said on there for that, which is what I have here, the total debt overall that I have, and then also the payoff timeline. So as I make additional payments on Best Buy and get that paid off, my expectation is I'm going to see my payoff date change and get better, my total debt change and get better, the payoff timeline change and get shorter. for Transfer Tuesday, I went in and did a payment on January 18th for $35. Well, the app said, you said you was going to pay $50, which is the minimum, and then an extra $100 a month. But you only paid $35. Well, now your payoff date is going to be June 19th instead of May 19th. And that's how that piece has been working. So overall, I want to be able to track this information because I want to see this come down. I hope to get it down to 4 years and 5 months, and then 4 years to 2 months, and then, and so on and so forth. And I want to be able to see that because I think it will be a great motivation for me. And so overall, I'm hoping that once I reach that 150, and maybe if I'm able to pay $200 in the month of January towards Best Buy, that this payoff date changes. This will of course change, but then that payoff timeline will change as well. So that is where I am at this point. I think that is it. Thanks everybody for your time. You guys have a good one.